Running Fundamentals course part 6, we are working on plyometrics. And now, this is so important because plyometrics are typically that thing that gets reserved for old people. They say, well, I'm getting older, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 50, my body's not what it used to be, so and I don't really need to do plyometrics. But the reality is everybody has to do plyometrics because plyometrics are how you inform the fascia connective tissue of how to move. Now, we all understand that there's muscles and there's bones and organs and ligaments and tendons, and we kind of have this idea that that's all wrapped around skin. But the thing is, we don't understand that there's this thing called fascia. Fascia is what wraps around the entire body, wraps around the muscles, the bones, the ligaments, tendons. It actually forms the ligaments, it forms the tendons. It's all this kind of connective tissue that flows together, and it actually connects the skin to the muscles, to the bones, to the organs. It is this encasement. If you ever cut open a boneless, skinless chicken breast, you feel this kind of thin layer. It's a form of fascia. But fascia isn't just this thick thing that wraps around the muscles. It's also in between the muscle cells and spindles. So what I want you to understand is this entire idea, the philosophy behind human movement is based on fascia. But that's the thing you've never really heard, because up until recently, fascia was just written off as this thing that you had to be able to see it and cut it to call it fascia. And they didn't even think it was innervated. But now we know that fascia has nerves. It actually has more innate in your body, in the fascial tissue, than in your brain. It is the processor for your entire body. And so the big thing you want to think about is, if I'm not training and moving in a way that makes sense with my fascia, I'm not training in a way that moves with my body. That's why plyometrics are so important, because fascia is trained in multiple dimensions. One is the actual slow, methodical, multi-vector movement like you see in Tai Chi, where they're stepping and they're stretching and they're moving and rotating, moving with the breath. You can also do pressure. So this idea of rolling and massaging, it gets this kind of direct pressure to hydrate the tissue. That stretches and massages and moves it like dough. It gets this hyaluronic acid between these layers to release, and it creates fluid in the tissue so that everything glides. It's how your body lubes itself up, so to speak. Then there's the dynamic portion of fascia, which is the quick, explosive, rhythmic things, kind of like the surface tension of water. If you fall off of a tall cliff and you hit water, it acts as a solid and you can die. That's why tall cliff jumpers will throw a rock down to break up the surface tension and get some type of motion in the water so that they can break that surface. In your body, this fascia works as a gel-like substance that hardens and stiffens under contact. So when I make contact, it stiffens, and I have this shock wave of this endoskeletal system that provides support. The bones are not what provides structure to your body. They simply are there for leverage. They're stiff tissue that moves, that holds a space along a point of leverage. So I can pull the muscle and shorten it and create leverage and biomechanical advantages with the bones. The bones should not be touching one another. They're connected and surrounded by articulating tissue that goes in between the joints, but all that is wrapped around in fascia. Fascia is what wraps around the muscles. And an entire new way of thinking about your body is like a bungee cord jumper. So someone that goes on a bridge, we have the sides of the mountain that hold the bridge. Those are your bones. They give it leverage. The bridge is like a muscle. It has some flexion, some movement. Really, its main idea is to hold and go on. Muscles only have an on switch. They don't have an off switch. It's either on or not on. I either send the signal to contract, or I don't send the signal to contract, in which case the muscle relaxes. So the muscle, the bridge, holds its spot. That's all it does. Then there's two other variables, the bungee cord and then the jumper. The jumper is the load. That is you moving with gravity. The force of you going down is falling. And then the bungee cord is this fascia. So when I land, I hold the position on the bones with the muscle. The force moves down, so the gravity pulls down, and then the fascia elastically stretches and contracts. It's this pliable, springy, bouncy thing. That's exactly how a bungee cord works, and that's how things like running, rhythmic movements like walking, running, jumping, throwing, sprinting, climbing, carrying, all of these things, pushing, pulling, throwing, they're all in this rhythmic, elastic bounce to come back. It's a smooth, integrated way to move your entire body. Now, all that is to say that if you do not have plyometrics in your training week, you are not going to be healthy. Now, this is important because if you're not training this, you're not informing the fascial tissue on how to hold itself and how to move. You're actually training when I bounce up and down and create a springy, elastic rubber band-like sensation on my Achilles tendon. I'm saying, hey, I need you to form in this line of pattern. If I don't, I just get stiff, and the tissue doesn't get any type of stimulus. It gets weak, it gets impliable, it starts to pull. I get the itises, the tendinitis, and those things cause pain. So the point is that no matter where you are, you have to have plyometrics. For a lot of people, this can look like jump roping or bouncing or just hopping back and forth. Even in people that are in their 60s, untrained individuals who've never worked out before, if they start doing this stuff in their 60s safely in a progressive manner, they will reform their tissue. This is how you get stronger, denser, faster. And that is how you get to be a dominant runner, a dominant athlete, something that can actually, by dominant, I mean capable relative to your set and setting. So the point is, plyometrics matter. If you can't do plyometrics, you are not strong enough to run. So we can start off looking at beginning plyometrics so we can balance it and develop strength in this. And I want to treat it like jump rope. So we'll finish this with a prescription on how to address this problem. I want you to think about it. So if I told you to go be better jump roping, you'd pretty quickly understand that it's a strength limited thing. I bounce, I hit the ground, I hop off, I would get tired. I can't go forever because my muscles will fatigue. That's because I haven't developed the strength. But if I keep working at it, I'll develop the stiffness in the tissue to where the rubber bands keep bouncing over and over again, and I no longer get tired. I have the ability to stay under that threshold and continue to go. That's how the top athletes that run these incredible ultra marathon, ultra distance efforts, they go, it's not physically taxing their body or cardiovascularly taxing because they're just staying under that threshold. They work to train that threshold high. So why strength work and speed training is so important. It's a form of developing this connective fascial strength in the tissues for plyometrics. So the way we build up is to start jump rope. What I want you to think about when you're training this stuff is to keep the time in a relative place where you are not going to get injured or beat up. You stop when you still feel good. So for example, we may do 10 sets of 15 hops. You can do out, jump rope, just hop, bounce back and forth. 10 seconds, 10 sets, 15 seconds. You're just hopping back and forth. You can even switch right and left if you're not even ready for that. You don't even have to leave the ground if you're just trying to get started. This is getting the calves to pump. And then you rest. And you wait for 20, 30 seconds and you go back and do it again. And you stop where you feel good. You will feel deeply sore. This is the very beginning of a process that looks like jumping to bounding to bunny hops, jumping for height to single leg bounding to ankling, all the drills we'll talk about in the next part that gets your body ready for more advanced plyometrics, for more advanced load absorption, and to be able to actually run. So understand, after strength, after understanding the philosophy, you have to understand plyometrics. If you don't understand that, you will not be able to train in a way that honors your body. So, all that to be said, plyometrics matter, plyometrics are for you, and it's never too late to get started. In fact, the best time to start was yesterday, the next best time is right now. So get after it, and we'll talk about some drills for running in the next part.